Today I'd like to talk a little bit about how the story of Jesus dying and being resurrected was taken from ancient Egyptian culture. So ancient Egypt was an absolute powerhouse for about 3,000 years. I want you to really think about that. 2,000 years ago, we got the story of Jesus. It lasted 1,000 years longer than that. And it started about 3000 BCE, again, about 3,000 years before Jesus purportedly died and Christianity started. And it was a strong, thriving civilization that would have influenced all the cultures around it. That's how culture works. It intermingles, their stories get passed back and forth, and things evolve. So the stories of ancient Egypt were around and known and assumed as truth when the people who wrote the Gospels and started the Christian church were making their religion. You're probably vaguely familiar with the idea of these burial tombs where kings and rich people were put after they died. Covering the walls of the tombs and the sarcophagus and all over everything is a bunch of hieroglyphics. Those hieroglyphics are what's known as the Book of the Dead. Now, we can't really think of the Book of the Dead like the Bible because it changed and morphed over time. And the Egyptians seem more interested in the pictures that were included being correct than some of the writing. But over the course of 3,000 years, the Book of the Dead was carved into these stones, again, covering these tombs. So what the Book of the Dead was instructions for the deceased to gain eternal life. Now, it started out, these were just kings, and then some of the nobility, and then finally it filtered down to the poorer people. But it started out as instructions for a king or a queen to become a god. First of all, in order to be judged worthy of becoming one of the gods, your body needed to be intact. It's ancient Egypt, ableism, okay? So all of the body and all of the organs were put into these tombs, and the Book of the Dead on the wall explains what you need to do when you get into the afterlife. There are all these code words and secret spells and incantations and displays of power that you need to know in order to pass through these different gates in the underworld. So what happens is when you die, you descend into the underworld. In modern Christianity, we say the Apostles' Creed or the Nicene Creed, and we say Jesus descended into hell. Where did hell come from? Why is hell below us? Because the ancient Egyptians believed that the underworld was below us. They were flat earthers, and they believed that the sun came up in the morning, set at night, went under the world, traveled through the underworld, which was full of kind of some scary shit, and then in the morning came up again. So what happened was when you died, you went down in the underworld with all this scary shit. So in the underworld, they weigh your heart against a feather, and if you've lived a virtuous life, the scales will balance and you will be granted permission to proceed. If the scales don't balance, then you get devoured by this really scary dog, wolf, jackal thing. So it was very important to live a virtuous life. So you're in the underworld. Again, after you pass through all of these checkpoints in the underworld, your body rises. So the sun is not just the sun. It is driven by the deity Ra, the sun god. It's a boat that passes across the sky and then descends into the underworld. Ra drives it across the sky, and then Osiris drives it across the underworld. There's different gods happening here. So your goal is to become Osiris. So it's not really something we in our culture understand. You are both yourself and you are also becoming Osiris. And more than one person can do this, right? So you prove that you are a god-like, that you are Osiris. You get on the boat and then you join/become Ra and travel across the sky with him. That's the ultimate goal of all of these accoutrements in the tomb. So if you think about this story, Jesus descended into hell, did some battles down there, and then ascended into heaven, the sky where Ra and the boat that we want to get on exist. Also, in early Christianity, it was believed that when you are raised from the dead on the final day, your entire body, wherever it is, rotting in the ground, will be magically put back together and you'll go into heaven. That part's not from ancient Egypt as far as I can tell, but the part about Jesus descending into hell, becoming a god perhaps, different parts of the Bible say he becomes a god at different points, and then ascending into heaven. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. Again, early Christians knew that this was how it was. There are other philosophies that go into Christianity, but this was a huge one. And that's how we got the story of Jesus dying and being resurrected from the dead and going into heaven, the sky, the sun, where Ra is.